Hello, welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to test whether element percentage is better than attack percentage and why. So to test that, it's pretty simple. We go over to free training. We pick a character that has little things that can be uncontrolled. In this case, Zuyen is very controllable because most of her moves are things that you need to do a mechanic for, basically. So we avoid the mechanics, we can control things. So what I've done is I've gone over to drive disk, kept everything the same, everything static, made sure nothing will impact the damage calculation randomly. And I've switched out disk 5 for 3 disks that are exactly the same. And by I mean exactly the same, they have things that either don't impact damage, or if they have something that impacts damage, it's the same across 3 of them. So in this case, I've got this one, which is a health of 7.5% and a flat attack. Rest is all defense. Then I've got this one, which is a physical damage bonus of 7.5%, flat attack, the rest defense. And then the last one is a attack percentage one, 7.5 attack, flat attack of 19, rest is health and defense. Now crit damage, it's not the same, but we're going to ignore the crits. And so we can control that. We'll just basically wait for them not to crit. So 3 discs, all the same, just different main stat. Now you would think the health one will do less damage, attack one will do more damage than the health one, and then we're not sure what's going to happen with that physical one. Also, as a heads up, I also do have this other type, which I did test, but unfortunately I don't have flat attack. I have a flat pen. I'll show the findings of that one at the end. It's very interesting. So stick around to the end if you want to know the difference between flat attack and flat pen. Okay, so without further ado, this is what I did. I put on one of them, went into our VR training with just Zuyen, no other characters, because you don't want other characters to impact your damage numbers randomly. Okay, first thing what you do is when this enemy spawns in, I disabled its movement, I picked an enemy, I made its level 70. Okay, now how do you work out the damage? Because there's a lot of numbers that pop up. It's pretty simple. Hit them until they don't crit and look at the first damage point that pops up on the screen. So in this case, 2 are going to pop up, but we'll always look at the first one. So the first one critted, the first one did 515, it critted again. It critted again, it did 515 again, critted, didn't crit, and it did 515. So you can say, okay, the health percentage one gets us damage of 515 for that particular move. Now what is that move? That move is a physical damage type. I know that because of this. She does some physical damage and she does some ether damage. There is no ether in that move because it's yellow. Her ether damage is in her second hit. So we're going to do a second hit now and we're going to test that. So that's the first one, that's the second one. Now there's 4 other things that pop up. We want to look at the first one and we want to look at it when it doesn't crit. Okay, it critted. It didn't, that was like 1538 if I am seeing it correctly, 1538. Nope. When we corrupt them, we do more damage because of our drive disc, but it looked like it was 1538. Like you can keep, I redid this over and over and over so I could be sure that it was exactly 1538. And then I also did it against like 4 enemies total, right? So I'll show you again with another enemy. So if you pick the Dullahan, it's the same situation. The damage will be different because it's a different enemy. 409, so this enemy must have more defense than the previous enemy. 409. Okay, now let's look at the second attack. 1221. Okay, we got to do it again. It critted. 1221 when it doesn't crit, and you can keep doing that. We'll always do 1221. So you know that with this health one for this enemy, that's the damage it does. So the next thing is easy. We jump out. I'm not going to show you this bit. I'll show you the results of it because if you trust that, you're going to trust the rest. Like I can show you receipts and pop it up on the screen if that's what you want. Put it in the comments. I'll do it. But I just feel like it's unnecessary. But basically what you do now is you go to Zuyen. You grab that drive disc. Okay, and then you want to change one thing. The thing you're going to change is the health, and you're going to change it to attack or some sort of element type that you're going to be doing. In this case, we're going to test the physical element type. So you put that on, replace it, and then redo that. And you should expect, if it's stronger than health, that for those physical attacks, they will do more damage, but for those other attacks, they should do the same damage, is what you'd expect. And then you do it again for attack percentage. So what's the results of all this? These were the results. So for now, we'll ignore the other side. I did run that one. So these are the drive discs. As you can see, they're all the same. We ignored the crits, so this one didn't matter. And this was the damage we were getting. So health against all the different types of enemies, you had 442, 515, 425, so on. The numbers don't matter, just need to say a couple of them so you can tell that where we started. So the health, we got 442. When we put on the physical percentage one for that physical attack, it did 476, so it did more. But when we put on the attack percentage, it did 463. So it still did more than the health one, which makes sense, but it did less than the physical damage one for that particular enemy. And it's the same across all the enemies we versed. Numbers are different, but the findings are the same. Now for that second hit, with the other type hit, the health disc did 1100 if we look at the first thing. The physical disc also does 1100. In fact, it does the same as the health one across all the enemies, because we're not hitting with a physical attack, we're hitting with an other attack. So it makes sense, it's not doing any buffing. But the attack percentage still goes up. It does more damage, 1151, 1609, so forth. Okay, so you go, well, why don't I just roll attack percentage, because it will always buff all the moves no matter what, and I don't need to worry about putting element on disc 5. The problem with that is you need to know where most of your damage is coming from for your character. And in Zenless Zone Zero, every single character does most of their damage from the element type that matches them. There's no exception at the moment. If you're an ether type character, all their ults, their specials, everything, it all comes from ether. So you want to be buffing that. If you start buffing things that are not their type, then attack percentage will do better. So if you start using Zhu Yan and just using her physical attacks, then obviously you probably would benefit from attack percentage. But if you play her properly and you're using her other moves and her kit properly, then you will be doing less damage if you do attack percentage. You need to put on that physical element percentage. I mean, you need to put on that ether element percentage to be doing more damage. And you might go, well, you tested with physical and she's an ether type. Well, with the ether percentage, I didn't have one with the flat 19 attack, but I did have one with the flat pen of 9. Now it turns out that the other percentage did the same damage as a HP percentage despite having a different substat. So which tells me that a flat pen of 9 is the same as a flat attack of 19, which is super interesting. You still want attack, because if the enemy doesn't have any armor left or any armor, then your penetration doesn't penetrate anything. But if the enemy's got armor still, you will do the same with a 19 attack flat as you would with a 9 pen flat, which is, yeah, they're not the same number, but they get the same damage. Okay, but what about the other status damage? Did it do the same as the health? Well, no. Health did 1100, physical did 1100, but other does 1173. So as you can see here, other does more when it's an ether type attack. In this case, ether did nothing when it's a physical type of attack, but physical did more and physical did less when it was ether, and so forth. Okay, so you can see the numbers, you can see how it works. Basically, it's just proving the point that you'll do more damage if you're using the right matching element type. Now, I also looked at the damage across the board to see, well, what if you just factor in all the total attack percentage buffing that drive disc is doing compared to an element disc buffing? And it really just basically, element will always beat attack because all your damage comes from that element. If that's not the case, then you put attack on. But yeah, all the characters, they fit that rule at the moment. So the last thing is then, well, what do you use attack percentage for then? Because what about that hormone punk set? Like that 10% 2-piece, isn't that good? Shouldn't we be using that at some point rather than a thunder metal that gives you a 10% electric, or a fanged metal that gives you 10% of physical? Well, the answer to that question is, if your character has something else that increasing their attack buffs, then you might need to switch it out, that element one for an attack percentage one, potentially, so you can maximize the buff you're getting. An example could be this. If you have a character that the higher their attack goes, then the faster they apply anomaly, that will change damage calculation numbers to which it may be better upon further testing to run Hormone Punk over like an element type. But we don't really have a character like that. I'm not sure on Bernice. You'd have to look into Bernice whether she's got something like that. But the characters I have, at least, they don't benefit from that. They're pretty straightforward. So yeah, that would be the only time you could maybe look at a Hormone Punk. But I would need to test that further to see, well, what does that mean? Like if you get more anomaly proficiency or more anomaly mastery, what does that mean from a damage calculation perspective? And does that beat the straight hard element percentage damage or not having it? And that's the thing, you don't know till you test it. So yeah, right now we do know this, element's better than attack percentage. Those are situations that might change, but it needs to be further tested. No need to do it now until you give me a character that you want it tested on. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. I know that was pretty numbers focused, but I feel like this is important for if you want to go for Miyabi and work out what kind of drive disc she requires. Particularly in this channel, we try to forecast the drive disc. So yeah, basically I'm going to be going with an element that matches Miyabi for her disc 5. At the moment, I'm leaning towards that's probably likely going to be ice, unless she has a new element. Then I'm going to have to wait for that new element drive disc to drop before I can put it on. But as a backup, I would just make an ice one, and worst case, when she drops, you can just re-grind out that disc 5 for her matching element type. But you don't want to be grinding out attack percentage right now for disc 5. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you found this valuable, then please leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you would improve for next time. I do have other experiments I will be running in the future that will help with Miyabi builds. In particular, the next thing is going to be about anomaly mastery and whether increasing, if there's like a cap on your anomaly speed of application basically. And there's a couple of experiments we need to do to answer that question. This was important to determine the damage side, but now we need to think about, okay, well, how fast we apply damage, what does that mean? And is there like a optimum point to that kind of stuff? So that's experiment 2. I'll cover it more in another video, but yeah, if you want to hear about that, feel welcome to subscribe, and that will be coming shortly. Thanks, Harold. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Toxic Abyss, signing out. Bye-bye all.